Hey, this is Taylor with Believe in the Run, and I'm here with a full review of the LaSportiva Prodigio Max. If you don't know much about the LaSportiva brand, I would say get yourself educated because they're here to stay. And they've been around for a long time, but this new Prodigio line, which just started last year, is their stake in the ground saying that we're here for not just mountain trail running, but trail running in general. And they wanted something to offer to all different kinds of runners. And so last year they came out with the original Prodigio, which was a great all day, any day kind of runner. Just kind of like your standard, but very modern trail running shoe. It actually won some awards for us in the Best in Gear Awards, and we loved it. And then they came out with the Prodigio Pro, which is the race model in this series. And let's just say it's going to be on our Best in Gear Awards for sure this year. It might be toward the top of best trail shoes ever made. So that's saying something big. And then comes their Prodigio Max, which again is completing the trio of having something for everyone in this Prodigio line. And of course, with a name like Max, you know it's going to be high stack, high cushion, very protective, and that's exactly what the Prodigio Max is seeking to do. So, like we normally do, let's just get into it from the top, talking about some of the details, some of the things we really like, maybe some of the challenges this shoe has within its category. But yeah, let's get into it. On the top here, we have a comfort wire upper. In the Prodigio Pro, if you're familiar with that shoe, there was a power wire upper, which both are meant to be kind of lightweight, really mapped to the foot well, and durable. This one's going to be a little thicker than that, than the power wire upper, and of course it's going to be oriented towards comfort. With a name like Comfort Wire, it's kind of like duh, and it is very comfortable. The fit overall is going to be a little more broad than any of the other LaSportiva models, even in the Prodigio line, and I really like that. I like that they kind of bumped out this forefoot a little bit, and even throughout the midfoot and heel too. It's just going to be the most accommodating LaSportiva shoe out there, and it actually is an accommodating fit, and I appreciated that, especially with this comfort wire upper and a slightly different construction than they normally put on their shoes. And so, yes, it is accommodating. I wouldn't say it's going to be best for super wide feet because this power wire upper is super durable. It's not going to stretch very much, but overall the fit is, I found, really nice, especially for the long haul. One note on fit for LaSportiva is that typically you want to look at your European size. They're a European brand and they really have some unique senses about fit. And so typically I go up a half size in my US men's 10.5. It would equate to a men's 43.5 in Euro sizing. But I typically go up to a 44, and that gets me pretty comfortable for most days. I would prefer to go a 44.5 for going the long haul. Like if I'm using this shoe for Leadville coming up, I'm gonna hopefully get a 44.5 just to have a little extra room, a little extra foot splay for the distance. And I think you're gonna be just fine because the rest of the shoe can cinch up really nicely to accommodate for that. So again, and another kind of weird thing with sizing for LaSportiva is that at popular sizes, they have quarter size increments. And so it's a little bit different than our simple half size increments in the US. And so if you can figure out your LaSportiva fit, it's worth it because those quarter size increments do make a difference. And that's only going to be if you're at those popular sizes among people. And so that'd be like US men's 10.5 to 11 in there, or like women's 8, 7, 8 in there. There's going to be those quarter size increments. So I think it's worth it for the LaSportiva if you're interested in these shoes to figure out that fit, and you might just need to try on a couple. But overall, the fit is really nice on this one. I would say again that this comfort wire upper, it's super durable. It's going to be in that matrix or Dyneema realm where it's just a really nice engineered mesh that's kind of ripstoppy in a sense, but still fairly breathable. Not as breathable as the Power Wire upper that you can just see right through. This does have an inner liner that makes it a little more comfortable, a little less breathable. But again, comfort oriented, I think, is the big goal for this shoe. Overall, through the midfoot and heel, you're going to be able to lock down really nicely. I really like this lacing chain. I was able to cinch up my midfoot, and this more standard heel. It's more standard than any heel that I've seen in a LaSportiva shoe. It's just well structured and nicely padded. I was able to have a pretty custom and very comfortable fit just because of that midfoot and heel structure and support. And overall, I really found myself liking the upper. No complaints, really. Even things like this very stout toe bumper and the overlays here, I really appreciated, especially because this is one of those max stack options that you can actually take on a lot of different terrain, even quite technical terrain, and feel really comfortable because of that fit and the overall durability. But what's really going to complement that upper fit and comfort is this XFlow Endurance midsole. And it's a recipe that we've seen in a lot of max stack or high stack trail shoes. It has two different densities, but in the form of a rim and core. And so what we see on this outside is this XFlow midsole material, which is a nitrogen infused EVA. We saw that in the original Prodigio. Some characteristics like some good energy return, quite protective, stable. It's a little more dense than most nitrogen infused EVAs, and I actually like that for these trail shoes, especially in the Prodigio line. So just having that in a max stack shoe, of course, we're gonna get those characteristics to the max. And so I really thought that we had a solid amount of protection because of this XFlow rim. And it actually was quite stable because of the density. It is a broader outsole pattern, and so I like that also for that natural sense of stability, but this foam definitely comes in clutch too, with some just good stability, good support. I felt confident, but not overly controlled like some other options do. I felt that in the Brooks Called AR8 and some of the Speedlim GS series, that they're so broad and so structured that they kind of over control what you're trying to do. I didn't get that sense here, but I did feel nicely stable and secure over a lot of different terrain. And that's a lot due to that big rim of XFlow material. And so on the inside is a eTPU material that's gonna be softer, more supple. It's meant for that comfort aspect. There's a lot of shoes that have that recipe, that have that softer inner material for comfort. And so we were thinking of shoes like the Nike Zagama series, the Saucony Exodus Ultra 4, Solomon S Lab Ultra Glide. Lots of different shoes of this stature are using a similar recipe. In this particular one, the Prodigio Max, it is a softer material on the inside, but I have to say I didn't really feel that sensation. I would say overall, this is a medium density. You're not gonna get a lot of that bouncy, super soft cushion, even though it does have a softer core. I mostly felt like this was just a big slab of XFlow that I said was in the Prodigio. And there are some perks for sure. Like, it's a super protective, again, very stable, very supportive underfoot ride, and it is really smooth on a lot of terrain. But I didn't get that overwhelming sense of comfort that many are going to be seeking in a max stack shoe like this. But again, kind of cost benefit analysis, what you are going to get is a shoe that can romp through the mountains better than many others of this stature. We do have a 37 millimeter heel to a 31 millimeter forefoot, so a 6 millimeter drop. If you add in, there's a nice little extra layer of XFlow EVA in the insole, so that's really bridging up to that max stack. And again, being able to run on more technical and moderately technical terrain very comfortably in this shoe, that's what's going to set this one apart for a lot of other people. And it's also actually not all that heavy. It's a really built up shoe, but for my size 10.5, this was an 11.3 ounces, 319 grams. That's right in there with the average of a lot of those other max stack shoes. For sample size for men, it was 10.4 ounces or 295 grams for a US men's 9. Women's was a 9.1 ounce and 260 grams for a women's 7. So again, it's really average, right in there with overall weight. So that really helped with, again, I keep coming back to saying that this is a great shoe for more moderate to technical terrain. I think that's where it's gonna shine. And it's just the weight, the fit, the ride and protection you get is all gonna be helpful toward that. Also, this outsole. Not many shoes can compare to the Frixion outsoles that LaSportiva has. It's truly like that grade A, always vying for the top in class. But this one is a Frixion Red material, so they have different colors meaning different things, different materials within LaSportiva's line. So this is a Frixion Red, and that actually means it's a blended material. There's two different materials at work here. This darker part in the heel is going to be more durable, still grippy. These are all 4mm like U-shaped or horseshoe lugs, that the lugs are like really one of the magic pieces of it. They grip and grab into everything that I could throw at it. This more durable material is going to help by just keeping that rear foot stable, and when you're like coming downhill or foot striking late in a race or on long runs, this is just going to help the shoe maintain its integrity on the bottom. And that forefoot, the red that you can see that kind of bridges from almost in the heel all the way through the forefoot, it's going to be slightly softer, but it's going to be tackier. And so again, I had no qualms with any of the, on any conditions, any terrain. This outsole is definitely one of the best that I've ever had on any shoe. And so again, that's not a surprise to me, having been in a lot of LaSportiva shoes, but it's still a great thing to know, especially for those of you who are going to be going on more moderate to technical terrain. Can you catch a theme here? So let's get into form, fit, and function, our overall scores for the Prodigio Max. And overall, I'm really happy and pleased with this shoe, especially in my setting here in the mountains. This was a phenomenal shoe. For an overall trail runner, I think it's going to find a more specific case, and part of that is for form. For form, I'm going to give it a 3. I think this is a really simple but stout build. And simple is something I always really love, actually. It's a really practical shoe for certain settings. I would say that the overall midsole is going to be the thing that either makes it or breaks it for customers in this shoe, because it does end up being a more medium density, where many of these Max Stack shoes kind of leverage the comfort aspect. This one leveraged the stability and protection. And so I enjoyed it. Even for runs, I did a couple like 20+ mile runs in it. I got a lot of miles in it. It took a while for this shoe to really break in. And even so, that midsole did soften up from a more firm feel to a medium density, but I really think that they could have leveraged the shoe more by having a slightly softer, more comfortable inner core. And that's really my only big qualm about this shoe. I think they could have done a little bit more with this recipe. But for fit, I'm gonna say this is all the way up to a 4. I really like this fit. It's very LaSportiva in the sense that it has a really secure fit and it's really comfortable. It's more accommodating than ever, and many runners are gonna love that. I appreciated it, having a moderate to more an average to wide average forefoot. It was really comfortable throughout. One of the things that you need to know, again, as I alluded to, is just figuring out the fit and where you fit best within a LaSportiva shoe. There's a lot of kind of nuances with the length of the fit. And that brings us to function. I'm going to give this one a 4 as well. I think it performed great on those moderate to more technical terrain. I think this one's going to be best for runners who are looking for something that feels really secure, stable, and protective, and I think it nailed that. I think it's going to have a little bit of harder time bridging toward less technical trails and smoother trails. It just felt like a lot of shoe for that terrain, but at the same time, I think this is going to be a more specific use case, especially if you live in the mountains. That's kind of LaSportiva's thing. This is going to be a great shoe to go the long haul. So overall pigeon score, it's landing at an 11, which is where a lot of our good shoes are happening, and borderline great. And I think this is completing the Prodigio line really well. I think it stays true to the brand. And overall, I'm really pleased with the LaSportiva Prodigio Max. I think I'll be taking it out on some more of the technical long runs that I still have left this summer. And that's really what it's going to be best for. So think mountain ultras, or just if you want a sturdy, durable shoe that's going to be able to go like 500 to 600 miles plus and maintain its integrity, that's this shoe. LaSportiva Prodigio Max. Way to go. Thanks for tuning into this review. There's a whole lot more on YouTube. Be sure to check out all of our other reviews. Also, we have all these reviews written for you, plus a whole lot more on believeintherun.com. Check out our Strava group, our Instagram. Also, tune into some of our podcasts that we have going on. Monday, The Drop with a Guest, Fuel for the Soul with Megan Featherston. Also, check out the Friday drop with the core crew there in Baltimore. Lots to love, lots to hear. Thanks for joining.